I am in Illustrator 2020 and I want to show you how you can use a brush stroke to create something like this brush circle for the logo that I did for this Peace Harmony logo. But before that, I want to show you how you can use a simple technique to trace a raster image to transform it into a vector, because the advantage of using Illustrator is that anything you draw in Illustrator is a vector graphic, which means it's made up of lines, curves, and points, and you can scale it up to any size without losing quality because it's not dependent on resolution. So in Illustrator, I'm going to go to File, New, and just create a new document. I'm going to select Print, and I'm just going to select the letter size, and instead of points, I am just going to switch to inches. And I've noticed because I selected print, it's using the CMYK color mode. For raster effects, it'll be at 300 ppi. So I'm going to go ahead and create, and I'm then going to bring in a file. Let's say you find some clip art or line art from the web that was free, but it's a raster image and you want it to use a vector graphic. So I am going to select this Rooster paper cut JPEG image and place it onto my document. Now this is a really small raster image, but I can make it bigger. I'm just going to grab the corner. Make sure you're in the selection tool. Because it's a raster image, you can see when I enlarged it, it's very pixelated and blurry, so I can't use this for print. So one thing you can do, if it's a solid color especially, or just one color, I can go to Object, Image Trace, and select Make and Expand. And then I have now created a vector graphic from the raster image. And because it's made up of Bezier curves now, I could even go in and zoom in, and I can adjust it with my direct selection point or direct selection tool, which is the white arrow. If I click on it, I can see all the Bezier curves. So if I wanted to, and that moves, I have to click on the specific point. So sometimes you have to deselect and then select a specific point, but I can move this up and reshape it, and I can customize it and redraw it. So I'm just kind of starting with a base image, but then I can go in and make adjustments. I can also change the color. So I'm going to go back to my selection tool and select this whole image and open up my swatches, and I could change this. So that selects the whole thing. So I'm going to go to my direct selection tool because I just want to select the black portion, and I could change that to a different color. All right, so that's an easy way you could create a vector graphic from a raster, and now that it's a raster, I could resize this to any size, and I don't want to stretch it, so I want to make sure I maintain the proportions, so I can hold down the shift key to do that. So I am not going to lose any quality when I make this bigger. Another thing, I want to show you a different image. So I'm going to go to File, Place, and select another. This time it's a PNG, it's a rainbow party hat. So I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to make it a little bigger on the page so I can see it better. Again, this is a raster image. So if I go to Object, Image, Trace, and Make and Expand, it doesn't pick up all the colors because there's different colors. It's not just one. It doesn't pick up everything. So if that happens, another way you could go about it is you could just trace over it and draw over it and use this as a pattern. So I'm going to open up my layers panel here, and what I'm going to do is lock this layer down. Just click in between the eye and the image, and that'll lock it. So now if I try to move this around with the selection tool, I won't be able to. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm just going to draw on top of that. So I'm going to set my pen tool to default, and then I'm actually going to select no fill for the fill here, and then go to my pen tool and zoom in some more. I would just want to redraw this top color here, and I'm just going to click to create a line with the pen tool, And then for my curve, I'm going to click and drag at the same time to convert the line to a curve. Then I could go back with my swatches and I can fill that with a different color. So I could fill it with the blue if I want, and then give it a stroke of none. And then to check my work, I can hide the original image just to see how it looks, and then I can bring it back up to see how it looks with the original image. Then I could lock that, create another layer, go back to my pen tool. I'm going to reset this, and then I can draw the next one. So then I'm going to make sure that you lock the other layers down so that you don't accidentally click on another item or object. So I'm just going to click and drag and then hold down the Option key so that my right handlebar now converts to a straight angle. And then I can click to the next end. It's not going to interfere with that shape because that's locked down. Click and drag to convert it to a curve. And then I can go back and change the color again. So I'm going to select a red and fill it with none, and then go back to my layers and I can hide the original artwork again, and then I can see how these two shapes look. So you can see there's a gap here. No worries, I can go in with my direct selection tool and fix that by adjusting the curve, and I can get rid of that gap. So now I can fit my page in view and keep working that way until I can redraw the entire artwork. So those are two different ways. If you're feeling comfortable with your drawing skills, so then I can just draw something. I'm going to actually open up something I've got already. So this is a monkey that I drew, and you could draw this building upon shapes. So if I'm going to move this over a little bit. And you can see these are pretty much made out of circle, so I could use my circle tool and create a circle, and then I can duplicate that. So hold down the Option key to duplicate just like you would in InDesign. Then I'm going to duplicate it again, and this time I'm going to make this bottom circle a little bit bigger, and then I can move this around. So it's starting to look like Mickey Mouse here. Then I can do another circle behind that for the head. And I'm going to go back and make this one a group. Go to Object Group and then go to my swatches, and I want to fill that with white and put this image behind it, and I can move it around in the layers. So I want this layer to be on top of that one. So I'm going to move this below in my layers. So I can keep working and adjusting until it kind of looks like the head with the face on it. And then I could add some ears with other shapes. So I'm going to add an ear here. I'm going to clone this to the other side. And then for the eyes, I'm going to clone this and make it smaller. Clone it again, and then clone again for the nose. Starting to look a little bit like a monkey head. Or I can use the pencil tool to just draw in a mouth. And then I want to go back and fill the stroke with the red color for the mouth. And I can go in and make adjustments. So I'm going to use my direct selection tool. Let's say I want to make this more oblong of an ear. Then I can go in and make those kind of adjustments using these Bezier curves. I can adjust this mouth and the curve of the mouth. So I can keep going and build upon this shape and then make a shape for the body and the tail and then combine it all into a single shape, which is what I've done here. So I've shown you how you could use a raster image and then expand it into a vector graphic. You can also use an image as a pattern and trace or draw over it. You could create a custom image by building upon shapes or drawing with your pen tool or with the line tool. Now I want to show you what I showed in the beginning with the Gospel Gate logo, and I'm going to go to layers and I'm just going to hide the text because we really don't need to use that. So I just want to concentrate on this mark. And I'm going to start with going to my artboards. I'm going to click on artboards and I'm just going to duplicate my current artboard by going to duplicate, and now I have two identical artboards, so I'm not going to mess with the original one, and I'm just going to show you on the duplicated version. If we look at layers here, you can see that under this group I have the phoenix is separate from the circle, so they're actually two different images. So I drew the phoenix, so it's all made up of the Bezier curves. And then for the circle, I used a brush tool. So I'm going to hide the phoenix, and you can see the circle is actually a brush mark. I'm going to hide that too. And let's go ahead and just lock that. And I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to go up to the window menu, and down here there are brush libraries that you should have in Illustrator, and you can purchase brush libraries as well. There's all different kinds of libraries for swatch tones and images. What I'm going to do is I want to select one of my brush libraries to create a brush stroke, and I'm going to select Vector Pack. I'm going to select the Grunge Brushes Vector Pack, and then I can choose from these different brushes. I am going to go to my ellipse tool under shape so that I can first draw a circle. I'm going to use the default here, and I'm going to hold down the shift key to constrain it into a perfect circle, and then I can select one of these brush strokes, and then I can change the stroke size. I can make it bigger or smaller. I can also change the color, so I can go to swatches and I can select that dark red color. Now this is still not quite how I want it because it is just a brush stroke, and what I want to do is I want to make it an outline so I can combine it with the phoenix. I can go to Object, Path, and then select Outline Stroke, and now I've converted it to a vector graphic that's made up of, that's outlining every side of that brush mark. So it's not reading just like a brush mark, but it's actually an object shape now. So I could go in with my direct selection tool and I could even manipulate these points. So there are a whole lot of points on there on this brush stroke. So the advantage of that is now I could combine it with that phoenix, and we can look at the original phoenix. I combined it with the brush stroke, so it's all one unit now. So that's one way, working kind of with layers to layer things on top of each other. So I didn't have to actually draw or paint this brush stroke. I could use something that was provided in Illustrator with my original drawing here and combine it into a new mark. So that's another thing to think about, using different libraries that are in Illustrator and maybe combining them with original artwork. So I've showed you several different things, hopefully to get you started on your logo in Illustrator.